Hello everyone, my name's Ashley and welcome to my September wrap-up, which is also my August wrap-up, because I didn't do one of those. So as you know, I was in the United States for the entirety of August and then 11 days of September, so most of my reading for those 2 months took place within that time. You could say that I'm in a slump because, I guess I am. So the first book that I read in the month of August was The Sidekicks by Will Kostakis. This book is an Australian YA contemporary about 3 guys who aren't friends with each other, but they all have the same best friend, and then their best friend dies. And they sort of have to figure out what their friendship, or basically what their feelings are towards each other, and how they can get sort of through this thing that's happened to them. I did enjoy this. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars though. I feel like it was overhyped, and because there was so much hype for it and I thought it was going to be so good, I just kind of felt underwhelmed by it all. It was a really good book and it was super realistic and it had an uplifting ending, but I just feel like there was hype and it didn't live up to it. Something else I liked was that there's 3 different points of view and the writing was done so that each character had a different narration style, and I really enjoyed that. The next book that I read was Diary of an Oxygen Thief by Anonymous. I bought this one kind of spur of the moment in LA, and I thought it's a short book, it'll be fine. It was something I can carry around with me, and I think I started reading it when I got to Washington, maybe, and I didn't finish it until I was in New York, and I didn't like it. I gave it a 2 stars because I enjoyed it at the start, but the more it went on, I just found it was boring. And the main character was whiny. It's just basically, it's about a guy who gets his karma just handed to him on a silver platter, and he's complaining the whole time about getting his karma handed to him, you deserved it, mate. The next book that I read was The Hidden Oracle, which is the first book in the Trials of Apollo trilogy by Rick Riordan. This book follows Apollo, the god, as he's made mortal and thrown down to Earth from Olympus, and he has to get to Camp Half-Blood and figure out how to restore the oracles so that he can become a god again. And it was really good. It was so great to see some of the characters from other books that I really enjoyed and really wanted to see more of. Cough, Nico, cough. And I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't as engaging as the rest of the mythology books, and it was less engaging than I expected from Rick Riordan. Apollo was a very hilarious narrator. Something about it just wasn't gelling with me, so I just gave it a 4. I still really enjoyed it and I would recommend it, but I don't know, I just didn't like it, and I want to get that sticker off. I didn't even realize it. I should have realized it had a sticker. There you go. Perfect. By the way, I'm sorry the lighting is really bad today. It's the 3rd of October, and if you would believe it, it is still winter outside. So, very rainy, very grey, and also very cold. The next book that I read is The Fill-In Boyfriend by Casey West, and this is one that I sort of had my eye on for a while and was I'm not sure, and then I was in Boston and I was like, yeah, I'm sure now, I'll buy it. And I read it in one day, on the way from Boston to Niagara Falls, and I really enjoyed it. From the description, you don't get the sense that it's you just think it's going to be a light, fluffy contemporary, and I guess it was, but you don't get the feeling that it's going to be kind of deep, and there's not going to be a lot of character development, but there really was, and it was fun, and it was honest, and there was character development, and I just really, really enjoyed this. and I'm really glad I did. The next day, on the way back from Niagara Falls, I read Bright Lights, Dark Nights by Stephen Eamon. This is his third sort of like illustrated novel, and this one is about Walter, who is the son of a policeman who gets sort of caught up in a racist cop scandal, and Walter is in love with an African American girl, and I liked it. Again, it just wasn't as engaging as the rest of the author's books. I don't know, I couldn't connect with the character. I thought he was kind of a tosser, so maybe that's why I didn't really enjoy this one. I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars, and also I felt like some storylines weren't wrapped up like as well as I would have expected from a novel. Do you understand what I'm saying? God, I hope so, because I don't. So this book was the last book that I finished while I was in America, the first book that I finished in September, I guess, and that is Spelled by Betsy Shao, and I loved it so much. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was fantastic. I thought that it was well imagined, and it had a really well done cliffhanger. Like, it's not the kind of cliffhanger where you're like, oh my god, I need the next book now, but it's the kind of cliffhanger where you're like, I need the next book now. It's a sort of like reimagining of The Wizard of Oz. So many fairy tale characters are referenced. It's just astounding the amount of stuff that's packed into it. It's got a lot of like really obvious foreshadowing that I didn't pick up, and I don't know if it's because like I was tired after 3 months of being in America, or if it was just because it was just so well done, but it was so well done. 5 out of 5 stars to Spelled. What I did next was not read, but I listened to an audiobook. This particular book has been on my shelf since last September, and I'm fairly certain I got the audiobook just before I went to America with the assumption that I would read or like listen to it on the plane or something, because I had like a 27-hour journey and I didn't do that. But I just felt like with the sequel coming out like at the end of September, like it was time, and also like I was a bit slumpy and I was like doing puzzles, so I was like, I'll listen to an audiobook, something to do, and that book was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and this book was probably the best book I read all year, and I read Illuminae this year. So that being said, there is still 3 months left of this year, and Crooked Kingdom is now out, and I've started listening to the audiobook for that one as well, because you can't listen to the audiobook for one and not listen to the audiobook for the other. So that's where I'm at. Six of Crows, I just think it was like so well done. Like the plots were great, the characters were so rich, and the world was so like vibrant, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. If you haven't read Six of Crows, you should get on that, and I would highly recommend the audiobook for this one, because I feel like if I hadn't listened to the audiobook, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much, and that's pretty sad, but the audiobook, like the narration was just fantastic, and that's all I have to say. This whole experience was just 10 out of 10. And the last book that I read in September was Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine, and I actually had no immediate plans to read this one anytime soon, and then I went to my friend's house and it was on her shelf, and I was like, you know what, I'll borrow it, because she was handing me a whole bunch of other books to borrow as well. I just sort of picked it up because it's short, and I was like, it's short, like I know I like the story because I've seen the movie, and it'll just like, if I don't like it now, then I'll pick it up later. And I picked it up, and it was really, really hard to put it down to go to work the next day. So I really enjoyed this one. I liked that I couldn't tell it was a Cinderella retelling until literally the end of the book. It's so clearly obvious. Maybe I am just really tired. This one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. One of my favourite genres is fairy tale retellings, and I think that if I'd never read a fairy tale retelling before, this would be like a really, really good like gateway book into it. It was funny, it was like fast-paced, it was just so fantastic. What day did I leave camp? So these are the books that I read between August 13 and September 30. As you can tell, I read most of them in America and then just 2 of them in September. I am in a bit of a reading slump, so not sure how the books are going to go for October, but I will do a wrap up of any books that I do read. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you think. Like this video, subscribe if you want to see more of my face, and I'll see you next time. Bye!